If you look at the average age of diagnosis of autism in Western countries is around 4 to 5 years. In low social economical countries, it is as high as 7 years. You cannot wait for an accurate diagnosis. Think about it in the medical journey. First you get some symptoms, then you get the diagnosis, then the intervention and therapeutic. So you can't start the treatment technically or accurate treatment before you get the exact diagnosis. If a child which can be detected at 16 months, gets therapy, gets intervention, gets a home plan, and start working towards it. There have been a lot of research which has happened globally in UK and US, which states that there is a 17 points IQ increase, which just happens because of early intervention. 37% of these kids will no longer meet the criteria for autism at the age of 3 when they will go to school. 75% of these kids will attend mainstream schools. This is just if we start therapies as early as 16 months, 17 months, 18 months.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the India Autism Center podcast, your space for all things neurodiversity. And I'm your host, Saki Singhi, and today we'll be talking about something that is actually groundbreaking research in the field, research and innovation in the field of autism. Think about this, okay? 5 minutes, and you get a detection of whether autism or not. It sounds futuristic, sounds impossible, sounds great, sounds like you'll have lesser wait times in the line, sounds like you won't have to do those expensive tests. But what if I tell you that this is actually possible and there's someone that we have here today who's making this actually possible? We have with us Raksheet Jain, who is the co-founder of Aignosis, India's first AI-driven autism detection tool. You might also know Raksheet from his appearance in Shark Tank Season 4. And I'm so happy that he's here with us today to delve into the intersections of AI, of neuroscience, and whatnot. Thank you so much, Raksheet, for being here on the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, I've been looking forward to a podcast ever since you guys launched the series, and it is an extremely powerful movement for us to be on a stage like this and tell the world what we are trying to build.
It's also really funny because I remember interacting with you
Right.
2 years ago before
Right.
any of this Shark Tank, before any of
Yeah.
this happened, and you guys were on the drawing board. I remember being on call with you. I don't remember who your other colleague was.
Yeah, he was my co-founder.
He was your co-founder?
Yeah.
And he's still the co-founder.
Yeah.
He's still one of the founders.
Yeah.
And you both were like these. I just have to tell the viewers, they were both like asking us so many questions about the technology. And I was like, okay, who are these geeky research students who we found on LinkedIn that are doing so much? And then years come down and we see you on Shark Tank, and it has been such a great growth trajectory for you. I also learned that you have come from the Mahakumbh startup. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about.
So the Mahakumbh was one of the largest startup events which happened in India. It was a 3-day event where we got a stall from HDFC because we were part of the HDFC Spark Impact top 30 social impact startups.
Okay.
So we got a free pod there for 3 days. More than 1,000 plus investors, more than 15,000 plus startup registered for the event. Events happening in every block, every minute, parallelly. So you're extremely overwhelmed. From the past 2 weeks, everyone I've been talking to were like, I'll see you there. I'm like, where? Oh, I'm also going to the Mahakumbh. So it was the largest grand scale ever event. And we also got felicitated by the Honorable Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, for our impact which we are trying to create in the biotech form.
That's super. You know, what this makes me think of is when you go to this Mahakumbh event and you think of Aignosis as autism, and बहुत कम लोग हैं इस field में, which
Right.
makes me want to ask you, why autism? Yeah, you guys could have done anything.
Right. So I come from a family of pediatrician, me as well as my co-founder. So my dad has been a pediatrician. He has run an hospital. He runs a clinic now. Same goes for my co-founder's parents. And my mother also is a general surgeon. So every time all the family, friends, everyone has been in the doctory field.
Hmm.
And when I used to learn about their problems, when I used to understand it, ki we have a 3 months waiting line. We also run an NGO with child development. So I've always interacted with children who are on the spectrum, special needs ever since I was small.
Okay.
Now, with all these factors, I worked in my third year. I worked in another hospital, which was the largest eye hospital in Rajasthan. And there I was working on diabetic retinopathy detection. So
Okay.
what happens in is that people with diabetes tend to have blindness if not procured and evaluated and diagnosed at the same time. So we build an AI model with a team of doctors, AI engineers, front-end engineers, and all of them combined. We deployed a project in Anandai Hospital, and the number of parents and people who were getting screened were 5. After the AI tool, that number rose to 50 every day.
Wow.
So I saw that there's an exponential impact which is happening at an exponential decrease in the cost. That just got me excited.
Hmm.
I had already procured a job offer at Kellogg's by the time I came to Jaipur for an internship in the NGO to understand the space better before I leave for the corporate world. And that's where I saw that there's a 3 month waiting line to get your autism checked in Jaipur.
Seriously.
Yeah. So when we figured out that there is this much waiting line, and when we interacted with people, so my one of the first interactions with somebody who were on the spectrum was a 7-year-old kid. The mother traveled all the way from a remote area, and when asked that आपको लगता है does your child speak, how does he interact with the world, she's like no, he hasn't spoken a word till now, but we just like it's our first time coming to a CDC center like this. And then the speech therapist telling them that it's a bit late. If you had come at 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, it would have been exponentially better. So I realized that in child development, early is everything, and seeing a lot of impact there, and seeing that people and our trust on the technology came in when the US competitors, which we have, already got the FDA approval last year. So we realized that yes, the
There's a space.
technology work, it's FDA approved.
Yeah.
Why not build something like this, innovate it from the ground, scratch up, and launch something in India? Because this space is very, very less looked into. At the same time, there is not of tech which is coming into this, because tech might financially have more of economically stable growth. But here, the impact plus the economies can exponentially scale up your business, and you can actually have an impact on people's life.
So the waiting list that you were mentioning about, like 3 mahina ka waiting list, this had nothing to do with the fact that maybe these people were getting the detection done for free. This was just what the waiting list is like if you pay or you get it done.
Yeah. So it was a paid thing. We used to charge, I think its average rate is 4 to 5 thousand in a tier 2 city like Jaipur. They'll do detailed battery assessments. They'll do comprehensive assessment with multiple pediatric neurologists, multiple child psychologists, and once this detailed evaluation, which takes about a day for just one parent. Once that is done, then they talk if you can get into therapies, if you need them or not. They make home therapy plans, and they people travel for stay in Jaipur for 3 or 6 months. Stay in Jaipur. People come from all around the districts in Jaipur, and then they get therapies. So the 3 month waiting period could have been pretty less if we are just able to detect it at an early stage,
Quicker.
do a quick screening, and start the intervention.
Got it.
Because the key is starting early intervention.
Yeah, makes sense. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you're enjoying this conversation, and do subscribe to our channel. It'll really help us to stay connected. You know, at India Autism Center, we're building this unique ecosystem. Our residential program, Samavesh, provides lifelong care to individuals with autism and other related conditions. Our training academy, Manan, is set out to create jobs for those interested in caregiving. And our research department, Khoj, is set out as well to collaborate with professionals and like minded organizations to really revolutionize autism research. If you're interested to be a part of this resolute community, please do reach out to us. because we are interested to get in touch with you. So feel free to drop in a note either on the comments or reach out to us on info@indiaautismcenter.org or check us out at our website, which is indiaautismcenter.org. See you. And this, my other question to you was that in early intervention, right? I don't think the viewers are very aware of the different screening tools that are available
Right.
when it comes to autism. And if you know of, because I know certain screening tools require an age, right?
Right.
So does Aignosis have an age criteria, or this can be applicable to pretty much any age group?
Right. So we started our research on the basis of the already existing screening tool. So you have to look into how we are making a science out of the questionnaire based techniques which have been used for long years and which have been the golden standard. Think of Aignosis as what we do with a particular child when we are doing the clinical studies is depending upon the age. So 16 months to 30 months is MCHAT, 2 years plus is INCLEAN, 2 years plus is CARS, 3 year plus is ESA. So all of these are screening plus diagnosis tools which can tell you, but they are at a particular age and there is no uniformity. So if you go global, there is ADOS, there is CARS 2, there's different things which everybody in their own country have felt like, yes, this works for us. And but there is nothing like a blood test. So if in India I do a blood test, there are 10 parameters which will be same if I do the same blood test in US.
Correct.
There's no uniformity. So what
Why is
we
that a
did,
problem though?
that's not particularly a problem, but the problem with subjectivity is that parents are answering these questions. Now, the main two issues which we have came across is number one, if either the mother has read through the symptoms on Google, read about different issues, they tend to over-report. So a moderate child will come into severe category just because the mother feels, yeah, says ye bhi karta hai, he does this as well. And the going through a list of 45 questions which are extremely tough to interpret, to give examples for every questions, you have to give translations, or either you have to ask it in different ways to get the complete picture just for one question.
Right.
Now imagine that doing for 45 questions. Now imagine how many people can actually answer it correctly on a scale of 1 to 5. And all of these problems were irritating me, to be very honest, were causing a trouble with how can this be the current gold standard. I nothing against those tests, but we have to look into the kind of people who are taking these tests, how much background they come from.
Correct.
And sometimes these are not that accurate on the scales. Now, what we did is we took data from the ground truth. So we used InClean, ESA, MChat to collect our data. On the basis of that data, and we showed the child a 5 minute video, the AI Aignosis screening test, and on the basis of the results which the AI with our test give and the ground truth, we were mapping the accuracies. So we literally had to, from ground up, first do data collection to get the data, and even before that, there was no way of collecting data. In globally, what they're using is a Toby Fusion Pro, which is like a 20 lakh plus machinery.
Yeah.
Something like this is not massively applicable. Our goal from the scratch, from the start, was to reach to the remotest areas and tell them early. So if not, they can afford therapies, but they can start intervention at a early stage. We can either give them home plans. We can tell them how to accept it and how to interact with the child in a better way. And that has always been the goal. So once we were able to figure out that we want to do that, we made the entire system so we can collect the data from a 3,000 rupees webcam. Once we figured out the webcam, we have to move around places to collect data to see if whether there's a correlation or not. Once we got the correlation, we then moved on to the next stage of clinical trial where now we are validating it. And yeah.
So you mentioned a lot about early intervention, early detection. Can you tell me why this is so important when it comes to autism or any other developmental disability?
Right. So if you look at the average age of diagnosis of autism in Western countries is around 4 to 5 years. In low social economical countries, it is as high as 7 years.
Okay.
Now, you cannot wait for an accurate diagnosis. And think about it in the medical journey. First, you get some symptoms, then you get the diagnosis, then the intervention and
Correct.
therapeutic. So you can't start the treatment technically or accurate treatment before you get the exact diagnosis. So if a child, which can be detected at 16 months, gets therapy, gets intervention, gets a home plan, and start working towards it. There have been a lot of research which has happened globally in
Okay.
UK and US, which states that there is a 17 points IQ increase, which just happens because of early intervention. 37% of these kids will no longer meet the criteria for autism at the age of 3 when they will go to schools. 75% of these kids will attend mainstream schools. And this is just if we start therapies as early as 16 months, 17 months, 18 months. And think of it as there's a lot of financial baggage which comes in. So, in average US household, the price of bearing of somebody with on the spectrum is as high as $2.4 million, because mostly the mothers leave their jobs. There's an impact on that. The spending power of the family decreases. It goes all in
Right.
the medical. And even in India, there's a 50 lakh annual income loss which happens every year over a period of 4 to 5 years just for
Yeah.
therapies and interventions and whatnot.
Oh,
So with all these changes,
is there a study for that though? I'm actually really curious.
yes, so Cognoa did a study
Okay.
with all these parameters. So $2.4 million, 17% IQ points, yeah, 75%
And this is
attended
Cognoa
mainstream
is based in?
US.
Okay. Got
So
it.
all of these are US numbers
Which is so
predominantly.
sad, क्योंकि कभी भी there are no numbers in India when
Yeah.
there's like autism सब जगह होता है. It's
Right.
not like it's just US. And we face this also that people, when it comes to doing research, it's all, even when we are figuring out research, it's all CDC, it's all this, it's all that. There's barely any research that is being done in this
Right.
field. Is that been a barrier somehow to Aignosis, that very little research is there for you? Of course, you have observation based research, you have a family of doctors.
Right.
But in terms of very low research in this field, do you see this as a barrier somewhere in developing the solution that Aignosis
Definitely.
is?
So when we started,
Yeah.
we thought there might be data sets already available. We'll be able to train on it, right? But
You'll be
we
surprised.
realized that nobody's actually even working towards this.
Yeah.
And even when we tried to reach out to all the different people who are doing a research, those research were some were not aiming towards being a product, or some research were just looking into the numbers. So we felt that there's a need for a groundbreaking research to happen first and then make a product out of it, because what's the point of spending a lot of money in the research if you're not actually giving back to the society in some particular
Yeah, I
way?
completely agree.
So for us, we had to do our own research to convince. We had to get ethical committee clearances. We had to first explain what is autism, why is early intervention happening is important. While if you look at different fields, there's multiple research that is happening.
Yeah.
And it's getting published more and more. I'm sure IAP is looking into this in the better lens, and they are making a lot of more research happen with this. But the growth and the science behind this has been a bit backwards,
Yeah.
rather than what it had should
Has
be.
been, which is
Yeah.
like, you are the one that's innovating, you are the one that's doing the research.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that you guys are doing in terms of AI. Rakshit, if you can just explain to us how AI will how your tool specifically and how AI generally will play a role in detection, or a much better role in just this healthcare space.
Right. So I come from a background of BTech in artificial intelligence from Virginia Tech and NMIMS.
Okay.
And I have applied it with multiple projects in healthcare. Like in my entire college year, I was focused towards healthcare driven data sets. And what I've figured out, that AI is extremely well in learning from the clinician's insights. So let's say I give AI 300, 400 plus images, mark them with where, let's say, lung cancer is or breast cancer is. When I give him the 401th image, will be able to figure out that because of the learning patterns and because of how the clinician diagnosed it, this might be the area. Now, our focus at Aignosis has always been to empower the clinicians. It has never been to replace the clinicians. So, the same way with which our tool works is we are using AI to give an interpretation to a doctor. Now, the doctor is also making his clinical observation along with our report. Now, with both of these cases coming into, we are able to do faster diagnosis plus more precise
And save
care.
on their cost, their
Yes.
time, and their efficiency, I'm sure.
Yes. So what I feel AI is just a technological enabler to do things at scale. It's nothing magic. It's nothing. There's no rocket science behind it. If you look at it, at AI Agnosis, we just feel it's AI is just the technological enabler in how we want to reach from one center to 100 plus centers. And at the end of the day, every technology should be focused towards solving a very good problem. So if so the problem statement for us is so big that early detection of autism is not happening, one way of approach would be, yes, let's deploy 500 psychologists in all these pediatric clinics. They will ask questionnaires and this will happen. Now that is not logistically possible, not feasible, and that's just a restriction towards getting into a entry in a clinic or in a hospital.
Which actually brings me to my next question. You had mentioned about uniformity and the lack of uniformity in the different screening tools, and then we had moved on and we pivoted. I want to know, and you now mentioned that AI Agnosis is not replacing any clinicians, where you're empowering them with this tool. Is is it right to say that AI Agnosis has come up with its own screening solution, or how? I want to understand, how is it different from traditional screening methods?
Right. So the traditional screening method is MChat, InClean and ESA are used for diagnosis, similar with CARS. And the problem is that you still need to have an RCA certified clinical psychologist to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And pediatricians don't have the time to do an MChat. Pediatricians are not that, they don't have the eye for catching an autism because they haven't seen that many cases of it to build their clinical observation on that. Yeah, that's very true. So even if you go to, if you do, so we do 100 plus pediatricians conferences where we tell them about early detection and autism and how to look into it, because in their text, when they did it 20 to 30 years back, it was just a paragraph in their book. Like my dad used to show me, this is all we knew about autism when we started out. And it is just now which has, it has come up so well. On a weekly basis, I might encounter one or two child, but I don't have that expertise, so I just refer it to them. But the referral rate is also low. If out of 10 people, I refer only two make it there.
Yeah.
Because they feel that they feel judged, they don't know how to do about it. And that's where our report is just empowering the clinician's response and the screening. So what we particularly do is we make the child watch a 5-minute video.
Okay.
Now, in this video, there are different illustrations. So there's one where there's geometric patterns on the right side, social patterns on the left side. There's one where there's joint attention. There's one where the objects are moving. We are seeing if the kid is able to track it well. There's name call response. So we make sure we call the name from back and we see whether the child responds or not. Out of all these, there's 17 such modules. In those 17 modules, we are looking at how the child is looking at the screen, his blink rate, how is his head moving, how is his gaze dependent upon one point, so fixation, saccades, a lot of technicalities. And out of those, we create the embedding feature vector, which tells us the value of each feature. Then they go into a particular AI model, but all of it is interpretable AI. So there are two types of AIs. If I talk about it, one is where AI is just the black box. So you put things into the neural network
and it learns.
It learns and it just adapts, but you don't know what it has learned. So you don't know why it is coming point 0.8 or point 0.9 when you have given it the results. But the second one is interpretable AI, where now I tell them, look, these are the 10 features. They go into the model and then we see what is the value as. So I can directly correlate why is the child on the spectrum or not, depending upon the different feature values which I have for every feature. So think of it just as a statistical coherence
Got it.
which we have created. And so there's no black box, there's nothing to fear about. There's no hallucinations. It's not a LLM model, it's like a deep learning model.
Got it.
So that's the difference which gives us the statistical empowering to do something like this. And then we just categorize the child into whether child is not negative for autism,
Or
negative
it's
for autism, or other developmental delay. So we are not a confirmatory test. We are a screening tool. So we say it's not negative. So you still, if it's not negative, what we do is we make sure that the child goes for detailed assessment to the nearest CDC center around and then take therapies. And if the child behaves in some random manners, not like a normal child, not like an autistic child, so we categorize the child in the other developmental issues, which now also needs to be looked on by a developmental pediatrician.
so that is again open to speculation to
Yeah.
another.
So it could be ADHD, it could be different syndromes, Asperger's, and whatnot. Our tool can tell you that your child might not be as a neurotypical developing individual.
Got it. And I want to know, Rakshit, because even though you're empowering a set of clinicians, is there any resistance that you're facing from them in terms of, nahi, maybe this is not clinical enough, nahi, maybe this is not evidence based, nahi, this is, I just want to know your personal
So
experience in
So
this.
we were very clear that we will not go and sell to pediatrician until we have the clinical validation.
Mm.
If we in our hospitals can't use it, we will not use it anywhere else. And that has been the learning and experience, because in healthcare there are a lot of companies which are coming with innovative AI based solution.
Yeah.
But when you add a layer of clinical validation, the
It's
numbers
pushed.
drop down
Yeah.
heavily. So so what we did is we got the ethical committee clearance from the largest government hospital in Jaipur, SMS Hospital. We started collecting data there. Once we collected a lot of data, once we had the numbers of validation, which are still yet to come out for the publication to be made somewhere down the month. But once they come out, and I already know them, what's have happened internally, because in our pilot study, we're already getting higher accuracies around 90, 92%, 95%.
Wow.
And that just had our trust that we should do it. Once we do that, we are also doing a CDSCO certification. So it's a software as a medical device. If you want to go sell in India, you need to get a certification done from the Indian government. So we've already received 2 certificates. We are waiting for the third one. We've already done the trials. We already have the numbers. We are waiting for it to publish. And once we receive both of them, uh, there's a lot of trust which naturally comes from the entire ecosystem that yes, this is something which is like which works and it's incredible. And it also talks about the type of people we have worked with. So as we are incubated in AIMS Delhi, so they helped us with numbers and everything. We had a lot of support from ICAD Newton in Jaipur, which has a very good team of therapists, doctors, and there's a lot of doctors plus our own parents.
Yeah.
And all of that helped us into taking every step very calmly in the clinical field, because if one thing goes wrong, they're looking forward to rejecting you.
Of course. I think that's such a smart approach to first build your own credibility. You don't, once you do that, I think people just trust you naturally in
Yeah.
this process. Rakshit, parents, I have met parents who have been in denial for very long. And I have met parents who, like you mentioned, have been on the wait list for very long. Um, what I somewhere think is Aignosis going to be that tool, that weighing scale that you're scared to get on because maybe it comes as the child has autism.
Right.
Which, sorry to say, abhi bhi parents don't think of it as, okay, child has autism, that means there's an action plan. We follow the action plan. We work on making the child, making the child's strengths prosper, so to speak. Um, in the social stigma world, do you see Aignosis like maybe breaking things apart, or maybe actually making it somewhere a better
Right.
world.
So our goal is to make the world a better place. That's for sure. And I feel acceptance is the first step towards making any progress.
Yeah.
If somebody who is fat, if he doesn't get on the weighing scale, does he become lean?
No.
So why see a weight scale as a bad thing is my first argument. And what we are trying to do is we don't want to label any child. So even if you look at it, it's never positive for autism, just not negative and negative.
Hmm.
So our goal is to tell them that hey, it could be autism.
It could not.
It could not be autism. We feel that there are red flags for it, and you should completely go ahead, take help from somebody from the ecosystem, take therapies, and we ourselves have made a very strong referral network. So the moment with any partner pediatrician, any screening is done, and the screening results comes out not negative, we refer it to the CDC center, which has been working, which we know has been working very well. We get them priority based appointment, and on the basis of all these connections and treatment plan which we have done, it helps us in monitoring those children better.
Got it.
So that's where we somehow come into play. And think of us more as how there has always been a dental camp in your school, how there has always been people caring about your BMI,
Yeah.
but nobody at that age caring about whether the child is behaving good in his behavioral manners, is in social manners, how has he been, is there any anxiety, is there any issues with that child on that early age.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in. So we are in conversations with a lot of schools, and it's a very positive thing which is coming out in the response, which the kind of response we guys are getting. So they're very open to deploying a tool like ours in the screening, in the school screening facilities, so that children will get their height and weight, will get their BMI, will also get their dental checkup, eye checkup, and then Aignosis test in the school, so that they, if there's any concerns, we take care of the entire journey.
Got it. I hope schools use it as a strengths based approach and not as an exclusion based
Yeah,
approach where, maybe if the child is diagnosed with autism, that is more reason for them to make an effort and to make
yeah,
them feel more included, which I hope Aignosis will empower educators also to do. Which brings me to my question about um, AI tools and AI medical tools and its accuracy. Do you have any, even though we were chatting on the side and you were mentioning, and you also mentioned about the accuracy of the results. Um, if you can give me more examples about AI tools in this healthcare space that is really revolutionizing um, healthcare in general.
right. So I'll give first few examples on the autism range globally, and then we'll talk about some Indian companies who are doing extremely well. So Cognoa and early tech diagnosis, early point diagnosis has been extremely pioneering when it comes about the kind of work they have done in US. What we are doing is what they had done around 5 to 6 years back. Now they went about partnering with research with Duke and other universities and having good results, which enabled us and people in our ecosystem in India to take a bet on us, to be a part of our study and see how it goes or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at how Early Point is doing it, they just got their FDA approval last year. So, and they were like Times most recognized, the most valuable invention of that year, because the
Okay.
US government knows what a tool like this
Can really do.
can really do, can really empower, and can really, if everybody screen in US at the age of 16 months and everybody get a uniform early intervention plan, I think we can see wonders
Yeah.
in how the space has been going out. Talking about some Indian companies, Niramai AI, which is a breast cancer AI based screening tool.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Geeta started out 6 7 years back, and they have been completely revolutionizing how breast cancer screening works. So the traditional ways is mammography,
Hmm.
but there's a little bit pain. It's expensive and it takes a lot of time.
Time. Yeah.
Similarly, so they have made their own tool which can detect it using just thermal imaging, whether the woman is at the risk of breast cancer or not. Now
Got it.
they have been around 128 plus countries. They are in a lot more centers, and they're continuously expanding. And so screening tools like these, companies like Cure AI, who has been working in lung cancer and TB detection using AI, they're working very closely in the African lobbies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So early intervention in those cancer situations are also happening by companies which are based in India. So similarly, we want to be the one who is doing it
Doing
for
this for
autism
autism.
in India, and later and sooner take it to the global front, because Dubai, UAE, Qatar, they have a very strong problem.
Mm,
Like Southeast Asia, look at to Mauritius, Thailand. There's not a lot of work which is happening, but a lot of people suffering.
got it. Yeah. Which actually which brings me to one of my last few questions. What is the 5 or 10 year plan? I'm like sitting here like a shark, being like,
Okay.
what is, no, but I'm curious, where do you see AI gnosis going?
So we have understood that the vertical AI ecosystem approach is something which works the best.
Hmm.
So when I say vertical AI
Yeah,
ecosystem,
I don't
it's nothing.
understand it at all.
Yeah, it's nothing, but it's actually empowering from the ground to the top up. So think of AI Aignosis screening tool as just identifying who has it. Now, the eventual goal is to build centers around pediatricians. So let's say this is a one area. There are 10 pediatricians. All the 10 of them are using Aignosis screening tool. Now, there's one more center for autism by Aignosis in the middle of it, where we provide early intervention therapy plans, and we are also applying AI in that field as well, which is something I'll come on later. But all these 10 pediatricians, whenever they feel somebody's flagged, they just refer it to this center. The moment we get that referral, we take care of the entire journey, enabling the parent from the day they screened to hand holding them for the next few years
As a
in the
care plan.
therapy as a care plan. So
Wonderful.
we'll have offline therapy centers working with us. We'll also provide online intervention plan, and a lot of education and awareness also needs to be there.
Yeah.
To create that, we are very active on our social media. Similarly, what Indian Autism Center has been trying to do with their social media as well. So a lot of, whenever there is a lot of awareness which is going to come in, there's a lot of acceptance which is like going to be the second step for it.
Yeah.
So we're going to open our own centers across different cities. At the same time, we'll keep giving different pediatricians our tool and creating a very strong referral network to, if we don't have a center there, then we'll give you the best center, and we'll try to negotiate it for the patient who is going from diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
But sooner or later, you'll see a lot of centers with
With,
AI diagnosis and a lot of people. So we already have 100 plus centers in the waiting list, pediatricians and
wow.
centers
That's
who
amazing.
want to get our tool.
That's
So
amazing. Are
yeah,
you still signing up more or?
yeah. So we have a detailed B2B wait list of pediatricians, CDC centers, big chains have approached us to use our tool in their centers.
Yeah.
And that is the 5 year, 10 year goal. Initially, we just wanna have a very focused one in Rajasthan.
Mm.
We're gonna keep do a lot of stuff just in Rajasthan, try, test, figure out a best replicable model, and then
Then
slowly we're gonna expand, and then the globe is
got
the
it. So
vision.
like the proof of concept will be in
Yeah.
Rajasthan and then you'll keep copy pasting that. You pitched this idea in Shark Tank,
Yes.
and I want to know your experience through and through about Shark Tank, and it gained so much attention. Very curious. So please tell me.
So we registered our company in May 2024. We applied for Shark Tank in June 2024, thinking that why not? Let's just try. It's no harm. It's going to be a learning experience. We're going to apply next year as well. We have been always open to rejections from day one. So we applied, and they seemed curious. We had the MVP by that time.
Huh.
We had been working on this in December, so we had a lot of work numbers. We had the preclinical study done by that pilot studies, and we had figured out the way of moving from the MVP to the product.
Hmm.
Now we went there. We went to Delhi. We so first we had to clear an online round, submit all your documents. Then they call you to Delhi. Then the Delhi auditions happen.
Was
And
that like, that must have been nerve wracking, no?
yeah, that happened in July. But so when we went to the Delhi auditions, there's like you stay in Leela, or every startup is there. You're talking to them, and we were just the chillest ones. We were like they're talking to every. Achha, you have a startup? How did you build this? Oh, what's the idea? So we were just curious. We are just learning. We were like, ki some of these people will go to Shark Tank. We'll exchange our numbers, and then maybe in the next year when we'll apply.
Like मजाक में आप लोग Shark Tank पहुंच गए.
Not
Literally,
exactly
मजाक.
mazak, but it was so we were not very
Listen, Rakshit, I have seen people try for Shark Tank 4 times.
right.
Okay, 3 to 4 times. Like literally, I have not heard of people जो एक shot में they've gotten in.
So later on, I also got to know that we were the youngest one in the cohort, which from incorporation to the day of airing. So we were the youngest one who incorporated
In
it
all of the seasons.
in this season. And that was amazing. So, apart from the campus ones where they don't have the company, in the other ones, we were the fastest one. Now, from July to Delhi audition to November in Mumbai audition, we had made tremendous progress. So our MVP was now more into looking into like a product. We had already talked on ground. We already had MOUs. We already had letter of intent from people. We already had a very strong business model around it. We had already gotten few investors who were backing us at that time. And those learnings were very important. So if it was not November, the product could have been a little bit delayed. Work couldn't have been that aggressive and that hard. But that was the entire team's motivation from July to November to December to complete as much as we can. So when we'll pitch to Sharks, it will be a better pitch. And then we went to the tank in November end, and it was a crazy experience. So it's like 3-4 days you stay with all the people. So there's like 10 or 12 startups happening every day. So the sharks come at 9 a.m. in the morning. They're on the set till 11 p.m. in the night. Back to back shoots, back to back same 1 hour pitch. They are very, they know the format very well, and every time there's this particular format which happens if you look into all the episodes. And when we were preparing for it, so the initial 2-3 minutes is the script that is helped by the Sony team to build something like that, and rest everything is on spot. So you don't know what are they gonna ask. You know nothing. They know nothing. It can just happen, and you have to be prepared for it. So we took it as a challenge.
And there were the both of you that went, right?
Yeah, both of us we went there, and we had a lump sum pitch at that time. They helped us refine it. They helped us make it a bit more engaging, interacting, more aware to the people around there. And once we had mastered the pitch, the other set of questions were just about what we're trying to build, how we're gonna do it, business plans, what has the journey been like, and those were very clear to us. We were very sure about what we are trying to do here, what we are not gonna do, and I think that reciprocated in the episode. And people who would want to not look at it from just the impact way and also investment way, we had a lot of interest.
Yeah. I think you were offered funding, right?
Yeah, so we got a deal from three sharks, Aman Gupta, Piyush Bansal, and Varun Dua from ACO.
Nice.
So-
Did you take it eventually?
Yeah, so we took the 3 shark deal. And
Did you take it and then reject it, or did you actually take
yeah, we actually take it.
Oh, nice. That's great.
And we had just after a month, we got selected in WTF
I saw that.
funds cohort of Nikhil Kamath.
That is damn cool, yeah.
So that is for people below the age of 25 doing something innovative in the startup field by Nikhil Kamath. So that was something surreal for me as well. So
did
growing
they just
up,
find you, or did you apply?
no. So there's a complete process of 4-5 rounds of interviews there as
What
well.
is this luck that you have? Please tell me. No, I'm joking. You guys have put in so much work
Right.
and effort in building what you are building. So I'm sure. But how is that? How is that?
So Nikhil's WTF podcast is something which I've heard a lot of times,
Of
even
course.
when I was in college. It was very curious to see how Nikhil interacts with the other panelists and everybody. And I just used to feel that, wow, there are 10 lucky people who are going to get to meet Nikhil and get his 20 lakhs, and his guidance is going to be so great. Wow, that's so great. And once the cohort one was launched, I just reached out to like a lot of people who were in it and how the experience was. And then I got to know that there is a golden referral. So three every startup gets three referrals, so that you skip 2 rounds and then 3 rounds happen, so you move on ahead. So the Aignosis also has three referrals. So founders and everybody who's listening this, do reach out to us. And we got that golden referral because we pitched well to the other startup who had it. And then there was again 3 4 more rounds, and they understood the problem statement pretty well. They saw the kind of attention and attraction and the MOUs and LOIs we had from the current way, and they saw that there could be a lot of value add they can do with us. So connecting us with different governments, connecting us with different hospitals. And yeah, then we went, met Nikhil, shot another podcast. Extremely cool.
And see, now you're here shooting
and
the
now
best one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Rakshit. You know, you've come such a long way at such a young age, and you still have such a long way to go. And I know in this journey, there must have been speed bumps, there must have been, really high speed roads as well. I want to get your closing thoughts on just research and innovation of people who are willing or wanting to get into this field, what to make note of, and to keep
Right.
their head up high, really.
I think AI in healthcare has, so people have to make 2 3 things very clear. So first, you need to have some ground on, you need to have some insights about what is happening in the ground. Then only you're gonna figure out a problem statement. Once you figure out the problem statement, you have to figure out what kind of markets are you building it for. So if you're building for India, you have to be very price sensitive. You have to look at the cost of installment, and even if you are looking at from a global standpoint, then you have to look into competitive markets, other players in it, and how to approach it, how to not approach it. Once you have figured out these 2 things, then you have to move towards actually getting the data set. uh, in some cases, it is available. So look at lung cancer, breast cancer, brain tumors. A lot of data sets available online. You can train your models on them and get them validated by clinicians. Or in our case, we had to build it from the scratch. So be ready to build it up from the scratch, get committee clearances, and work towards it. And once you get product validated, once you get that, yes, these 100 doctors have said that something like this works, and they're interested towards using it actively, and they feel that there's an extremely great value add your product does, then move towards the business model around it. Then figure out, okay, should I do the screening free, take a referral cut? Should I do it at this price? Should I give free consultations for everyone? Then figure out the business model plan. And once all of this is done, you figure out the product market fit, then go up around scaling. So think of it as a complete roadmap, and the journey is not that so linear. In the middle, you'll get roadblocks like clinical regulatory approvals, you'll get problems with your biostatisticians, and you'll get problems with patients and doctors who would think that AI is going to replace them and not empower them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of education and awareness which needs to happen for the doctors as well. And I think IMA is doing a great work. So every time now I go to any conferences, I've seen there's every time one session on healthcare and AI.
IMA is what?
Indian Medical Association.
Oh, okay. They're really
Yeah.
making an effort.
There are a lot of companies coming out. So one company called manmeta.ai, they are helping radiologists into detection of tumors and CT scans and X-rays and MRIs. So, and government of Goa is already using it.
Wow. The road has not been easy, but at least has it been worth it for you, Raksha? That
Yes.
has it been worth it to keep going in this route? I'm actually really excited about the journey of
So-
diagnosis.
So I think we are still yet to start out.
Yeah.
I won't even say we are starting out. We are still yet to start, and this is not even day zero. it's day negative right now. So when the day zero journey will going to start, when we actually will see impact, that is something which is going to be priceless. When somebody at the age of 18 months, 19 months will get detected from our tool, get our early intervention plans, and show progress in the next 12 to 14 months. And that is the ultimate goal. So even when we track our matrices in the company, in the organization, we track a lot of impact matrices, that number of screening done in this age group from 16 months to 30 months, number of people who used our referral systems and are getting therapies. Then a follow up at 30 months, that, oh, how much have the milestone been recovered now, how much has the growth been. And this is something for which we want to optimize. This is the only matrix which we want to optimize. Every other thing will just come,
Follow.
will just follow.
Great. Before we wrap up, I have this quick round of myth versus fact.
Okay.
Most of which you've answered, but this is just going to be slightly quicker. So, can AI replace doctors slash clinicians who are diagnosing autism?
False.
Autism can be detected in infants as young as 6 months old.
Not 6 months, 16 months.
So,
So
false.
false. Yeah.
Early autism detection always leads to better outcomes.
Not always, but there have been meaningful things which have been around. So 37-47% have shown it. So I think it's going to, we will get the real numbers when early intervention and impact will actually happen.
AI tools like Aignosis are for parents.
Right now we are just open to pediatricians, but yes, definitely for parents, because it's a B2B2C model where we will be giving our tool to doctors who will then tell you to get a screening tool like this, and then the parent can do the screening in the center.
So, Raksha, this has been such an insightful session. Thank you so much. And big congratulations to you for being on this podcast. I'm
Yes,
just
thank you so
kidding.
much.
No. It's really such a pleasure to have hosted you, and I'm always so curious about knowing the innovation in this space. And you
Right.
guys are doing such a great job. For our viewers who want to get connected and want to know more about Aignosis, I'm going to leave the link in the description so that you can reach out to Rakshit and his team to get a better idea of how this tool could be helpful for your clinic. And thank you so much for tuning in. You know, it goes a really long way when you like, you subscribe, and you comment. So please do that. And in the meantime, and until next time, please consider watching any of the videos that are popping up in your screen. Thank you so much, you all. Bye.